shit, we back again. What's up, what's happening? Come to the party and bring a friend. Fuck it, I'm bringing 10. Ooh, trying to chat a 10. Big boy trying to chat a 10. She said I was catchy. I said so tap I'm in. Touchdown! Double cup, wow, I stuck smile when I puff loud. I touch clouds, catching touchdowns in my mind now, cause I'm zoned out. On a porch couch in the iCloud. 2 coughs and I'm back now. 2 coughs and I'm packed out. Somebody give me a drink before I gotta sit down. I'm making hits now with a smooth style.
What is up, everybody? I am Dr. Preston. Riley is not here with us today, unfortunately, but we've got someone maybe even better. I don't know. His name is Buck, the TTT's wide receiver. Buck, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Preston. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm great. So Buck, I know it was a very crazy weekend of NFL football, and you as a Cowboys fan got your heart broken once again.
I did.
You lost to the Bears. How do you lose to the Bears?
Just mismanagement, man.
That is a sad state of affairs, Buck, when you were out here losing to the Chicago Bears.
And losing as bad as we did. Imagine putting CD Lamb at running back. Couldn't be me.
Yeah. This is very true.
This is true.
But Buck, we're gonna get to that game in a little bit. But first of all, I want to get to probably the shocker of the weekend. There was a lot of shockers, but this was probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest. I want to get to the Green Bay Packers losing to the Cleveland Browns 13-10.
That is insane.
It is insane. So it just, if you watch this game, it just felt like the Packers, they felt like they had it made. They walked into this game thinking we're just going to walk all over the Browns. The Browns, they're 0-2. We're 2-0. A lot of people think we're the best team in the NFL right now. It's what a lot of quote-unquote experts are saying. They looked really, really good in their first 2 weeks of football, but they walked into Cleveland and they got ambushed. Cleveland,
right.
They were able to run the ball. Quinshon Judkins, the rookie, had almost 100 yards rushing. They averaged 5 yards a carry after the Packers had such a great run defense the first 2 weeks of the season. They looked like they were on skates out there on the defensive line. It was very kind of eye-opening. Like, just, I'm not really concerned about the Packers. I really just think they walked into this game thinking it was going to be an easy win, and that's right. That's what it looked like to me. What are your thoughts on this game, Buck?
Well, I mean, you look at a player like Quinshon Judkins, and he's a young player fresh out of college, and he was so electric, in college.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at a team like Green Bay, and they're 2-0 coming into this game facing an 0-2 opponent. And we always say, any given Sunday, it's anyone's game, right?
Yep.
We've seen weird games happen. We've seen teams that have lost consistently beat teams that are winning consistently. I mean, the 07 Patriots, come to mind. They had that wonderful undefeated season, and then they got beat by the Giants in the Super Bowl, who basically barely snuck in. And this kind of feels like a very similar situation. You have a very talented Packers team with Jordan Love, and then you have, of course, Micah Parsons on that team, which breaks my heart as a Cowboys fan. But, when you trade away one of the best interior defensive linemen in the game to get one of the best pass rushers in the game, I think that in this pass-heavy league, that's a very smart decision. The problem is when you trade away that defensive tackle, you're opening up an opportunity for other teams to run right up the middle. And you look at what Judkins was able to do in that game, and really, 5 yards a carry, 94 yards, 1 touchdown. This is kind of his rookie breakout. And, if he's able to run like that against a defensive line that is still good, even missing Kenny Clark, I think it speaks highly of Judkins' caliber. And, maybe the Packers went into this a little overconfident, thinking
I think that's what happened. I mean, look, the Browns, neither of these teams played well. The Browns were 4 of 13 on third down. That is, you typically lose games when you go 4 of 13 on third down.
That's abysmal.
That is awful. It's not the worst I've seen from the weekend.
No.
Shout out the Florida Gators for going 0 of 13 on third down. So it's not the worst, but it's definitely not the best. That's really bad. And the Packers, I think a huge part of this game also was just they were undisciplined. They had 14 penalties for 75 yards. And you can't constantly shoot yourself in the foot like that and expect to win games, especially on the road. I don't care how quote unquote bad a team is. If you go into a game and commit 14 penalties on the road, it's going to be really hard to win that game. And
right. You're not going to have a good time.
I think this is a wake-up call for the Packers. I think they're still a really good team. I think they're a legit Super Bowl contender, in large part because of your guy, Jerry Jones, and just gifting him Micah Parsons.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate you.
Trading Micah Parsons, I really like Kenny Clark, but that is – I still don't fully understand that one. So yeah, that's a huge win for the Browns, but I still think the Packers are going to be okay. Speaking of huge wins, Indiana Jones and the Indianapolis Colts.
Right.
The Indiana Jones and the Indianapolis Colts are now 3-0. I think it's time we started talking about the 3-0 Indianapolis Colts. This game, look, man, it seems to be a Giants thing at this point. If you leave the Giants, all of a sudden you look like a world beater. You look like an all-pro. You saw it happen with Saquon. Now you're seeing it happen with Daniel Jones.
Exactly.
Daniel Jones, 18 of 25, 228 yards, 1 touchdown. But the key thing is no interceptions. He's not turning the ball over, which is what he was so prone to do in New York. And Jonathan Taylor had 3 rushing touchdowns. He only had 102 yards on the ground. But the Colts, they're not turning the ball over, and they're playing really good complementary football right now.
Yeah, Preston, should we consider the idea that Daniel Jones might actually be good?
Me and Riley kept on saying all offseason that the best quarterback for the Colts was their rookie quarterback, Riley Leonard, out of Notre Dame, who we really liked a lot.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. I don't think we considered the leaving New York Giants bump.
Yeah.
Like any time a player leaves the New York Giants, you automatically have to bump them up with their new team just because the Giants are so fucking dysfunctional and so terrible. We saw what happened with Saquon. Saquon, he leaves New York, goes to Philly, immediately rushes for over 2,000 yards.
Wins a Super Bowl, Madden cover athlete.
Yeah, wins the Offensive Player of the Year, all of that. And I didn't think it would happen with Daniel Jones, but I've been proven wrong so far. The Indianapolis Colts are 3-0, man. This is ridiculous, and they're playing really good complementary football. They were only 2 of 8 on third down. They were 2 of 8 on third down, but their defense is playing well. They held the Titans. They held the Titans to under 300 yards of offense. They only had 365 themselves, but they're playing good football, man. They're not turning the ball over. They're not putting their defense in bad, precarious situations. And it's just, and then on the flip side, for the Tennessee Titans, they're 0-3. But I've said it before. I think Cam Ward might be the most under the radar number 1 overall pick I've ever seen, especially at the quarterback position, because he's playing well, but the Titans, you have to remember, this is the team that fired Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
They traded Derrick Henry and they traded A.J. Brown. They were at one point the 1 seed in the AFC. just a few short years ago. And they broke up that team for reasons I still don't quite understand. And now they've got nothing. They've got nothing on offense. And Cam Ward is playing really well. He was 23 of 38, 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But he looks good. He's shown you a lot of flashes. I mean, look, man, when your leading receiver is Chig Okonkwo, you've got real issues that are not the quarterback's fault. So
right. And absolutely no hate to Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is a very, very talented player. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Cowboys fan. I really enjoyed watching him when he was here.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about Tony Pollard, though, is he is a running back who is best in a two-back system. The smash and dash that we used to see out of Carolina in the 2010s with, what was his name?
DeAndre Williams and Jonathan Stewart.
Exactly, yeah. He's an elusive back. He's kind of a one-cut guy. He can make those cuts and plant and go. But he's also getting older. He's kind of lost a step as well. And, he may not be the best option for a number one feature back in that scheme.
No, they've made a lot of just very poor personnel decisions. Getting rid of the first one was getting rid of AJ Brown. They paid more money for an older Calvin Ridley than they would have had they just paid AJ Brown the contract he originally wanted. But instead they traded him to Philly, and that's worked out beautifully for the Eagles. I don't know, man. The Titans, I think they have their quarterback of the future. They just desperately need to build around him. And it's just
they need some talent. They need to give him weapons.
They absolutely need some talent.
Yeah. I mean, you look at in the inverse, you look at Daniel Jones. And he used to have Saquon, and there is an argument to be made that he couldn't get anything done on the Giants with Saquon. But as we've established, the Giants are kind of a poverty franchise. And then you look at Cam Ward, and he has nothing. Daniel Jones has Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman Jr., who are both very great players.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that success. So what I'd really like to see is the Titans put some talent around Cam Ward, and then we can kind of see, the roof of his capability.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely shown some flashes, but it's just, as for a rookie, he was put in a horrible, terrible situation. So
and I think that's
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, but the Indianapolis Colts are 3-0, and we need to start talking about them.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a fluke. I think they're proving each week that they are not a fluke. Oh.
And I think a major problem with the NFL right now is these teams, they draft these young, very talented quarterbacks who had weapons in college, right? People all around them. And regardless of their talent level, they get put into these situations where they have nothing.
Yep.
And then critics go, oh, well, they're a bust. Oh, well, this. Oh, well, that. Oh, well, this. Oh, well, that. And kind of going back to the Daniel Jones situation, when you're on a team that does not have talent around you, it's really hard to play at the peak of your performance.
I 100% agree, which is why I typically don't like when teams draft quarterbacks number 1 overall. I think you need to do. No one talks about this, Buck, and it drives me fucking insane. I'm just going to make this point real quick. Everyone, obviously Patrick Mahomes is awesome, and he's amazing. But what no one talks about with that situation is that the Chiefs were already a playoff team with Alex Smith. They had Tyreek Hill. They had Travis Kelce, But what they did was they realized we can't win a Super Bowl with Alex Smith. He doesn't have the arm talent needed to get over the hump. So they went out and they took a huge gamble on a strong arm kid out of Texas Tech who they needed to develop. They sat Patrick Mahomes a whole year. They had a plan in place with the talent around him already, and they developed him. And then he comes into the league his second year, his first year as a starter, and he lights the league on fire. but they already had a solid team around him. That's what no one talks about. That's how I would build a team. You build the team first, then you get the quarterback. That's what you need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
And we have seen Mahomes struggle in certain situations where some of his stars are out. No hate on Patrick Mahomes. I think he's probably the best quarterback in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, we saw in the previous Super Bowl when his receivers were not able to get anything going through the air and the run game suffered, he struggled. And I don't think that's any knock on him. I just think, if you don't have that talent around you, you cannot succeed.
I agree. Speaking of not having talent around you, we need to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and the ass kicking they suffered at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings. Jake Browning did not look good.
No.
19 of 27, 140 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. This game, I'm not joking. I'm not fucking joking, Buck. You know what I was thinking as I was watching this game?
What were you thinking?
This game just strengthens the MVP case of Joe Burrow.
I agree.
I'm not joking.
No. It's a completely different team when Burrow is not there.
I mean, it's the same team. It's just Burrow elevates them like a motherfucker. Right. And, and that's just how good Joe Burrow is. I mean, they can't run the ball. They average 2.5 yards a carry. That's not great at all. I mean, the Vikings defense is phenomenal. And they just look, man. I mean, they had 171 total yards. The Vikings had 352. They were 3 of 11 on third down. The Vikings were 4 of 12. But it's just, oh man, you can't turn the ball over 5 times and expect to win a football game.
No.
They lost 3 fumbles. You can't turn the ball over 5 times and go on the road and win a football game. You just can't do it. And it's, and you saw, I saw a highlight of Jamar Chase. Like the score was 48-3, or the score was 41-3. Excuse me.
Right.
And Jamar Chase was just out there on the field, and he was near the tight end who had the ball, and Jamar Chase just ran around him and didn't try to block anyone. And you could tell, they had given up, and it's just why is Jamar Chase in the game at that point?
That's a great way to get one of your star receivers hurt.
It is just, and you already got your star quarterback hurt. And the way they're playing right now, they're not going to be in a position to potentially make a push in December when Joe Burrow gets back. They're not going to be able to win enough games to make a push for Joe Burrow in December. So he's out for the year. You need to shelf him. You need to have him come back completely healthy, and you need to protect that man. You need to give that man protection. But you want to know, I told this stat to Riley. Do you want to know an incredibly damning stat?
Sure.
About the Bengals and how bad and poor their offensive line is?
Absolutely.
So we all know Andrew Luck was forced to retire because the Colts absolutely refused to protect him and to give him the proper offensive line he needed.
Right.
And he was forced to retire early. He literally said, the Colts sapped my love of football out of me. Well, through the first 71 games of their career, Andrew Luck was sacked 157 times.
Jesus Christ.
Do you know how many times Joe Burrow has been sacked through the first 71 games of his career?
I'm going to go ahead and say 160.
Nope.
200.
201.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's not good. They're literally going to get him killed. And at this point, I think he needs to think long and hard while he's sitting out there. Again, he's played 6 years. This is his 6th NFL season, Buck. This is his third season-ending injury.
Yep.
Edge, you need to think long and hard. Like, is this what I want my career to be? I cannot. You are squandering a potential Hall of Fame talent at the quarterback position just because you can't get your fucking shit together.
Yep. Joe Burrow is easily going to be the next Andrew Luck. At the end of the day.
You need to get out of there. Like, get Joe Burrow out of there. And the Bungles, they're not a good football team. Obviously, the turnovers, just exacerbated the issues, but they're not a good football team without Joe Burrow. They're not.
Correct.
They're not a good football team without Joe Burrow.
If I was in Joe Burrow's shoes, I would demand a trade.
You need to demand a trade. But I'm dead serious. How many teams in the NFL right now would not try to trade for Joe Burrow?
Almost none.
I can guarantee 3, and I'm not even sure it's 3. The Chiefs wouldn't do it. I don't think the Bills would do it, and I don't think the Ravens would do it. The Bengals, that would be an I don't know.
I'm going to add
But other than that, like, what?
I'm going to add the Eagles to that as well. They're pretty happy.
I don't know, man. I think Howie would want Joe Burrow. I think Howie sees, like, how ineffective that passing offense is at times. I mean, if you gave Joe Burrow that offensive line with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley, I know Draven doesn't want to hear this. Shout out Draven, but you would take Joe Burrow. Yeah. It's just I get Joe Shiesty out of there. That's what needs to happen. All right. Speaking of turnovers, the Steelers defense forced 5 turnovers on the Patriots.
Love that.
Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he played okay. He had 139 yards passing. He also turned the ball over, but he had 2 touchdowns. And I mean, the Steelers, they still can't run the ball. They haven't been able to run the ball for a long time.
No.
It's just, again, man, like, when these teams are so evenly matched, you can't turn the ball over. The Patriots had 5 turnovers. 4 of them were fumbles. One of them was a Drake May interception. You can't turn the ball over and expect to win these kinds of games. You can't turn the ball over 5 times and expect to win in the NFL. You just can't do it.
Football games at Preston, they're won in 3 ways. They're won at the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
On special teams.
Yes.
And in the turnover battle. You
I
cannot
100%
turn
agree.
the ball over and expect to win.
No, you can't.
It's the first person who makes a mistake, they're already on the back foot, and they can recover from that as long as they stop making mistakes. It's very simple. You don't give the ball to the other team.
Yep. You could argue the Patriots actually outplayed the Steelers, like, in every other facet of the game. It's just they kept shooting themselves in the dick. They kept turning the ball over. They were able to run the ball pretty effectively. 29 carries, 119 yards.
Right.
I mean, they just 4 yards a carry. That'll work in the NFL. Hunter Henry had 2 touchdowns. You can't turn the ball over. You can't fumble the ball like they did. And the Steelers, they didn't make mistakes. They didn't play great, but they didn't make mistakes. And that was the difference in the ball game.
You know who knows a thing or two about fumbling the ball, Preston?
Who?
Derrick Henry.
That is true. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Don't worry. That was a good, So now, we were just talking about Jalen Hurts a little bit. This game was one of the best games of the entire weekend. The Eagles prevail over the Los Angeles Rams on a blocked field goal that they returned for a touchdown. The Eagles scored 26 unanswered points in the second half. That is absurd.
It was a crazy game for special teams, too.
Yes, it absolutely was.
It was a crazy week for special teams. Let's be real.
It was very much a crazy week for special teams.
And the Eagles, they definitely put the special in special teams.
Jalen Hurts played really well. The Rams didn't do anything on third down, 3 of 10. It's just.
Though,
But
can
I
we
mean,
talk about a stat that's up there?
yeah, yeah.
Saquon Barkley, 18 carries for 46 yards. That is an average of 2.4 yards a carry.
Hey,
I know
man,
that I know that the Rams have a pretty strong defense, but at
they
the end of
do.
the day, you can't be an all-pro and be averaging 2.4 yards a carry.
I mean, they have a new offensive coordinator,
They do.
and you have to give credit to the Rams. I mean, look, man, I coached one of them. I coached Kobe Turner. Shout out Kobe. I love you and I miss you. But
Shout out Kobe Turner.
their defense, it's not just Kobe Turner. It's you know Jared Verse. It's Braden
Yeah.
Fisk. They've got one of the best young D lines in all of football. And I mean, they balled out. They balled out
Yeah.
on Sunday. They held Saquon absolutely in check. But you also have to maybe talk about how is Saquon getting the ball. It's a new offensive coordinator. He's still trying to figure out what Saquon does and doesn't do well. You have to ultimately, as a coach, it's your responsibility to get your best players in positions where they can succeed.
Exactly.
And, I feel like the Eagles have kind of struggled to do that with Saquon thus far this season.
And sometimes it's not even a scheme. It's just the idea of getting your best players in space and giving them opportunities to make plays. And I think for Eagles fans, and I can't speak for Eagles fans because I hate the Eagles, but I would be very alarmed because this is a 3-0 team. But some of these
Yeah.
wins that they're getting are ugly wins. I mean, 33-26 to the Rams.
Mhm.
Saquon held to under 50 yards on 18 carries. Keep in mind, this is also the same Eagles team that nearly lost to the Cowboys, who just lost to the Bears and Caleb Williams.
They did do
So,
that, yes.
so, I get that they have a new offensive coordinator, but at this point, they're 3 weeks into the season. They need to understand what they're doing.
But
I think they're starting to get into a rhythm because
mhm.
you look at that score line at the top, and you've got 14 points scored in the third quarter and 12 scored in the fourth. That's not bad. So maybe they're starting to find their rhythm. But to me, this looks like a different team than the team that beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year.
I hear you, and I get it. Eagles fans are probably not happy with how they're winning these games, but the thing is, they're winning these games. They're finding ways to win.
Right.
Eagles fans might not like this, but they are very similar, at least right now, at least early on this year. They're very similar to the Chiefs last year. The Chiefs, they didn't play great most of the time, but they were
No.
great in situational football and they just found ways to win. The Chiefs beat the Broncos last year off a blocked field goal.
Right.
They found ways to win, and we all applauded them for saying it's a skill and a talent to know how to win football games because it's very easy to lose them.
It is.
And it takes real skill and know-how to win games. And the Eagles are showing you that they have that. Yeah, they're winning one-score games and they don't look pretty, but they're winning.
And
And
winning is all that matters. And in no way am I
yes,
bashing the Eagles when I say that. It's just as someone who is a fan of the game and a student of the game, this team
mhm,
looks somewhat lethargic. They start out the first two quarters not so strong, and then they finish strong in the third and the fourth. So maybe that is them adapting their game plan to the tendencies of their opponent. And you can create the best game plan in the world, but as soon as that first snap goes off, you're really kind of finding out what you got,
mhm,
what you've put together.
yeah.
And new offensive coordinator running one of the most electrifying offenses in the league. There is some sort of expectation with that. I mean, if he was the new OC for the Carolina Panthers, I don't think we would be having this conversation. But when the reigning Super Bowl champions are kind of struggling early on in their games and then pulling it together in the second half of the game,
Mhm.
I think that's worth talking about.
Well, I think something else worth time. I get what you're saying, but I think something else to note here is the Eagles they were down huge in the second half.
Yeah.
And one of the questions we've always had of Jalen Hurts is when he has to drop back and throw, can he drop back and throw successfully? And he did that.
Yep.
A.J. Brown finally got going. He's been missing all year. Devontae Smith finally got going, and they were able to move the ball methodically down the field through the air. At that point, you can't run the ball. You have to
Yeah.
throw the ball to get back into that game. And Jalen Hurts did that successfully. So I think if you're an Eagles fan, yeah, we can't run the ball, but look at what we did through the air when we had to. A lot of their success last year was based off running the ball, setting up play action, and hitting deep shots to A.J. Brown. Throwing the
Right.
ball to Devontae Smith over the middle where he can run after the catch. Like a lot of their offense last year was everything's based off us being successful in the run game. Everything feeds off the run game. But they were able to throw the ball and were able to win this game because they were able to throw it. They had to throw it, and they were successful. And then
I'm a big
obviously
fan of Jalen Hurts.
what?
I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts. I've never
Yeah.
really understood the whole, oh well, Jalen Hurts is like Lamar. He's a scrambling quarterback who can, throw the ball
Uh-huh.
pretty well, but he doesn't have the arm talent of Patrick Mahomes or anything like that.
Yeah.
Time after time, we have seen Jalen Hurts make accurate, deep throws to open receivers and good throws to receivers in contested coverage who wind up coming down with that ball. So I think Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I really like Jalen Hurts, and he impressed me.
Yeah.
Like he showed me a lot. He showed me a lot in this game, and then obviously the Eagles, the blocked field goal with Jordan Davis, scoop and score to win the game. Like that was awesome. The Eagles they just find ways to win, man. And
They do.
the Rams they played well, but the Eagles they just find ways to win. And there's a lot to be said for that. Speaking of finding ways to win, we got to go down to Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers kick a game-winning field goal to improve to 3-0. They are undefeated. This was their first home game. They're 2-0 on the road. And the Jets fall to 0-3 despite playing well in two of these games. Like they feel like they should have won probably two of these games. It's something a new coach has to learn is how to teach a young struggling team how to finish. Like how to get that losing culture out of the entire organization. And that's what Aaron Glenn is having to deal with right now. But
Exactly.
look, man, Tampa Bay, they're so impressive.
They're
Baker
such a good
Mayfield, it seems like the Bucs, they don't play great in the first three quarters, but then when it's money time in the fourth quarter, when you have to have it, they turn their shit on. And they play really, really well. And Baker especially plays really well under pressure this year. And I mean, look, man, they've got such a good receiving core. And Emeka Egbuka,
he's going to be a superstar. He really is.
He was their first round draft pick out of Ohio State. The crazy thing is, he wasn't even the best wide receiver at Ohio State last year. That goes to Jeremiah Smith, who is not draft eligible for another 2 years. Yeah, this year,
but
next year.
You look at his stat line, and it's 6 receptions for 85 yards, an average of 14.2 a catch, with a longest catch of 30 yards. Also, I think he caught that ball that was ruled incomplete. That looks like a completion to me.
Mm-hmm.
But he's such a talented guy, and normally in teams that have a really, really strong wide receiver one in a guy like Mike Evans, and then also good wide receiver two in Chris Godwin, sometimes you draft that young guy and he doesn't contribute a whole hell of a lot to begin with.
Yeah.
And you look at what Emeka Egbuka, say that 5 times fast.
Egbuka.
You look at what you look at what he's been able to contribute so far, and he's just an incredible player at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And being able to step in like he did when Mike Evans went down, as well as Sterling Shepard stepping in. That's not a
Mhm.
name that we talk about a whole hell of a lot.
He was another guy on the Giants for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's just an incredible receiver.
Yep.
If you asked me at the beginning of the season, we all know that Ohio State produces great wide receivers.
Yeah.
Save for Marvin Harrison Jr., who had that awful drop against the 49ers, but
He did.
that's another thing.
Yep.
You look at a young guy like that, and you ask me at the beginning of the season, if I think he's doing this well, I'd say he would do well, but maybe not this well so far. 3 games into his rookie year, so you know, I think this is a really talented young guy, and I am excited to see where he goes from here. Also, shout out
Oh,
to Jason McLaughlin winning 2 games, or yeah, 2 games so
yeah.
far on game-winning walk-off field goals.
Yep. It's crazy. The Bucks, they're another team right now. They just find ways to win. And back to your point about Emeka Ibuka, no one really believed him, and I don't know why, but Baker Mayfield was hyping him up all offseason. Baker Mayfield was out here telling people this kid is legit. And no
Yeah,
one seemed to believe him. And I was like, yeah, this kid is legit. I loved it when they drafted him in the first round. And I said, like, he is one of the best wide receivers in this entire draft. And I loved him. I love that pick. And, because they knew Mike Evans is getting older. Chris Godwin's still coming off of an injury. So this kid is up next. And they knew that. And they went out and they got him. And
yep.
I mean, the one-handed catch he had down the sideline, like, it's unreal. But, I want to talk about, look, man, you want to talk about not playing well. The Bucks had 14 penalties for 124 yards. They were completely undisciplined in this game.
Undisciplined indeed.
Very undisciplined. But the Jets, they turned the ball over twice. Tyrod Taylor, who I love, threw a pick six. That really, really cost them. And the Jets, they had one other turnover as well. The Bucks had 0 turnovers.
Yep.
They
won the
just,
turnover battle.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the third down conversions. 3 of 11. The Bucks weren't much better, 4 of 13. What it really came down to the turnovers. And that's the scary thing about the Bucks. They're not playing great, but they're just finding ways to win. And Todd Bowles, he knows he needs to clean a lot of stuff up. They play the Eagles next week, and I'm very, very excited about that. 3-0, 3-0. I believe. Yes, it's in Tampa Bay. It's a home game for the Bucks, and oh man, that's a 1:00 game. That's disappointing.
That is a very loud stadium.
It is. They fire the cannons there at Raymond James.
They do.
They do. I mean, the Jets, they're a good team. They've got talent. I'm not going to say they're a good team. They're a talented team. They need to start finding ways to win instead of finding ways to lose. And that Dan Campbell had to do this with the Lions when he was trying to turn them around. Losing is so ingrained in their culture. You have to find a way to get it out. And it's just, they've been in so many games. They make the losing play instead of the winning play. And that's got to be soul crushing and demoralizing for Aaron Glenn right now. Because they feel like they could at least be 2-1. And it's, they're going to get somebody this year. I don't know who, but they're going to get somebody. They're going to pull off a major upset because they're too talented not to. Garrett Wilson, 10 catches, 84 yards. I know you think he sucks. I think you're incredibly dumb for that, to be honest. You're just a hater. But
I don't think he sucks. I just think he gets more credit than he deserves.
Why? He's a stud.
He is a stud, but I mean, you look at him through his first 3 years in the NFL, and he barely broke double-digit touchdowns? Come on, man.
But look who he's throwing. Look who he has throwing the ball.
That's a fair point.
No,
It is
I
a
mean,
fair
like
point.
he's the, just look who he has throwing the ball.
Mostly,
I mean,
I just say it to annoy you. I'm gonna be real.
yeah,
With you.
and you were great at that.
I know.
But the Bucks, they moved to 3-0,
Hell
and
yeah.
they look good, man. There's a lot to clean up for them, but they've got a lot to feel good about. The Commanders, without their starting quarterback Jaden Daniels, roll the Las Vegas Raiders. Geno Smith finally played a good game, but it just wasn't enough.
Yep.
It's just the Commanders, man, they dominated the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball for 200 yards, 6 yards a carry, whereas the Raiders, 28 carries, 93 yards, 3 yards per carry.
And who was expecting that Jeremy McNichols would have such a good game?
I don't know, man. I mean,
compared to Genty, I mean, you look at Ashton Genty, and he was such a great player at Boise State.
Yeah.
And I think he's an incredibly talented player. But you look at what he's done so far in the NFL, and maybe it's just due to the fact that, Las Vegas is a poverty franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, he's not turning heads. There's that clip of him that went viral where he went to pass block and he just kind of shucks the guy and then steps to the side. I don't think that's the kind of play you can be making in your rookie year. You got to fight the guy to the ground at the end of the day.
I mean, obviously he's a rookie running back, and rookie running backs, they all struggle in pass protection. Most of them do anyway, unless your name is Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke was a stud at pass blocking, but the Raiders don't have they don't have a good offensive line.
No.
And that's why I said I love Ashton Genty, but I don't like the fact that he went to the Raiders, at least this year, because Pete Carroll's there, but Pete Carroll can't completely flip a bad O-line overnight. It's going to take time.
Right. It's going to take time.
And I mean, they do split carries. Zamir White got the ball a little bit. I mean, Trey Tucker, 8 catches, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. Imagine not starting him in fantasy football. Shout out Jasper. I mean, but
here's go ahead.
Yeah. No,
here's the problem with. Oh, sorry.
No.
The problem with rookie running backs, right, is most of these guys, they come into the league at 21 or 22. Having guys who are dominant well into their late 20s and 30s, like Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, and if we want to even go further back, we can talk about guys like Barry Sanders and Walter Payton. They're the exception. Most running backs have a ceiling of about 26 to 27, right?
Yeah.
They have a few good years, and then just by the nature of their position where they're getting hit by linebackers and strong defensive linemen and edge rushers at the line of scrimmage and just slightly past, that takes a toll. And drafting a young guy when you don't have an offensive line that can protect him, that does not speak wonders towards the longevity of him at his position. And again, no hate towards Ashton Genty. I really like him. I was very upset when the Cowboys weren't able to get him. But at the end of the day, it does not bode well when a rookie running back goes to a team that does not have a strong offensive line. And I think that's no fault of his own. There are people who are coming out and criticizing Genty and going, oh, well, he's a bust because he played against, Middle Boise, Tennessee State Technical University, and kind of saying, oh, these guys, they're not super good. Boise State doesn't have a ton of competition. Well, he played against some great opponents, and he did very well.
He dominated Oregon. Oregon won the Big Ten last year, and he ran wild on Oregon.
He did.
Anyone who says that is just not paying attention.
Exactly.
Ashton Genty's a damn good football player. But
He's a
as
great
we
football
continue
player.
to say on the TTT, you need bubs. You need offensive linemen. You can't
Build
do everything.
the offensive line.
Yeah.
Very simple.
You need to invest, and the Raiders, Chip Kelly's out here talking about fucking load man. Chip Kelly is the Raiders offensive coordinator. He's out here talking about load management for Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. Like, dog, they're your two best players, but they're young. Like, what are you doing? You need to win fucking football games.
You need to give them the ball.
Yeah, like Brock Bowers only having 4 catches. That's, I don't know. Like, that's,
and Ashton Genty splitting carries with Zamir White. Come on.
I mean, Zamir White's a good back. He's just, they put him in there more for the pass protection, and Zamir White is a very powerful running back. Know,
but
so
he's not Ashton Genty.
No, but we also have to shout out. We have to give credit to the Washington football team, the Washington Commanders.
The Washington Commanders.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota, their backup quarterback, he played well. He showed you why he was. Yeah, he showed you why he was once upon a time the number 2 overall pick for the Tennessee Titans. Like, he's always had that in him. It's just consistency.
And overall, when we talk about, quarterbacks and whether they're elite, really you're looking for that 66% completion percentage over 2/3 of their passes. And you look at what he did, 15 for 21 and 207 with a touchdown. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad for a backup.
I think Mariota was just another one of those victims of a scheme that was not optimized for a young quarterback to come into,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's smart on Washington because they know that obviously Jaden Daniels is their starter. So you go out say your starter does get hurt. Unfortunately, you want your backup to come in, and you don't want to completely change the offense. Marcus Mariota plays very similar to Jaden Daniels, so that's smart on their part to get a backup that has a similar playing style as their starter. So your offense doesn't really have to change much.
Exactly.
But I mean, look, man, the Commanders, they're 2-1, and this was a huge win for them. This was a statement win for them. Huge, huge. Speaking of statement wins, good fucking God. The Atlanta Falcons are terrible.
Yes.
They just when you start to believe in them, they let you down. It is a tale as old as time with these Atlanta Falcons. You think Michael Penix might be a franchise quarterback. You start to believe that a little bit. Then he goes 18 for 36, 172 yards, 2 interceptions.
And he gets benched for my guy, Kirk O'Chains.
Yeah. And I mean, look, man, we keep on talking about it, Buck. The turnovers, the Falcons, they turned the ball over 3 times. They lost a fumble. They threw 2 picks, like I just said. And the Panthers, they didn't play well. Like, Bryce Young had 121 yards. Chuba Hubbard had 73. Ted McMillan had 48. Like, the Panthers didn't play well. How you get shut out 30-0 against the Carolina Panthers? This was their first win of the season. I don't know. You outgained them. You were better on 3rd down. I don't understand it. You had less penalties than them. It's really just the turnovers. Like, what? You can't. I will never trust the Atlanta Falcons. I'm done with it. I'm sick of people saying Drake London's a stud receiver. How you feel about Garrett Wilson, that's how I feel about Drake London. I need to see it. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people saying he's this great stud wide receiver. The Panthers, they played their ass off, man. Like, I mean, what'd you think of this game?
I didn't watch the game. But honestly, the Panthers shutting out the Falcons surprises me because you've got these guys who on paper should be good. Drake London, Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson. Bijan's a great running back. He's just stuck in a bad situation. But you look at what the Falcons were able to do, and it's not impressive at all. The Carolina Panthers, I hate to say it, they're the new Browns. They're where careers go to die, right? The Carolina Panthers lost that Super Bowl, and they have not been the same since, right? They were good when they had that defense, when they had Kuechly, when they had Cam Newton on offense and Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, and then they started making these bad decisions, and it's not a good team. You go to the Panthers, and you're like, oh shoot, but it's surprising. It really is surprising that they shut out an offense that should, on paper, be high-powered. But
yeah,
the NFC South, save for the Buccaneers, they're the redheaded stepchild of the NFL. They're kind of off in their corner, and it's like, all right, this is going to be a beat-up game. It's like playing an FCS team when you're an FBS team.
Mm-hmm.
Save for the Buccaneers, of course. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say on that matter.
I never really trusted the Falcons, but until they actually prove something like that they're worth a shit in the NFL, like I'm done trusting them. They've got all the talent in the world, but I mean, dog, you can't turn the ball over 3 times against the Carolina Panthers. You can't get skunked 30-0 against the Carolina Panthers.
Against the Carolina Panthers, yeah.
You can't do that. It's unacceptable. All right. Speaking of unacceptable, the Houston Texans are 0-3.
Yep.
They are very much 0-3, and they've got, I'm just going to flat out say it, their offensive line is dog shit.
It is.
They traded away their best offensive lineman and left tackle, Laramie Tunsil, and they didn't do anything to address it. They pulled a Ryan Poles. They're like, yeah, our offensive line is fucking shit and has been shit for years, so let's continue to draft skill players. Let's not protect our franchise quarterback. And CJ Stroud, he's been turning the ball over, but I mean, they don't give him time.
Yeah,
the fact that they have been in every single game this year, every single game they played in has been a one-score game. It's a credit to how good this defense is under DeMeco Ryans. If they can get a fucking offensive line, just some semblance of an offensive line, they're going to be legit. Because they've got maybe the best corner in the NFL in Derek Stingley. They've got, in my opinion, one of the best 5 pass rushers in the NFL in Will Anderson Jr. They've got cornerstone franchise pieces that you can build around. Obviously, I really like CJ Stroud, but no quarterback is going to thrive under that kind of pressure. And then on the flip side, Trevor Lawrence didn't play well. I mean, he's still Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne, they couldn't really run the ball. The Texans were actually better running the ball. It's just, I mean.
But that has been the hallmark of Trevor Lawrence's career. He was so outstanding in Clemson. He was obviously outstanding in high school.
Yep.
And now he's getting into the NFL. And, are we ready to potentially address the idea that Trevor Lawrence could be a bust?
Well, I'll say this. I was never a fan of Trevor. I never bought into like the absurd generational type hype of Trevor Lawrence. Because as you know, I prefer college football to the NFL. And I watch a lot more of college football. I watch college football every Saturday. And it's just, it's my profession. And I never bought into the hype because if you watched Clemson at that time, they had stud wide receivers. They had T. Higgins. They had Hunter Renfrow. They had a guy most NFL people won't know, but he was really good in college. They had this guy named Deion Kane. They had Mike Williams. Like, that run of Clemson wide receivers was absurd. And what Trevor would do is he would just throw it up. He would throw up 50-50 balls, and they became 80-20 balls because of those stud wide receivers. And it's like, yeah, his stats look great, but if you actually watch them, he's just throwing the ball up, and his receivers are making plays. It wasn't because he was like zipping the ball in where only his receiver could get it. He was lobbing the bitch up there. So I never bought into that. I thought obviously he's talented, but I thought a lot of it was because of the stud receivers he had around him.
Yep.
So, and I mean, look, man, he shows flashes. He obviously shows flashes, but he's just never been consistent enough. And he's not, he makes $60 million a year.
And I don't think this is a situation where a good young quarterback is stuck in a bad scheme. I think, Trevor Lawrence is making some bad decisions with the ball.
I mean, he had one interception. He was 20 of 40. He was exactly 50%. Yeah, I don't know why you're throwing the ball 40 times. In a close game like that. But the difference was the Texans turned the ball over 3 times, and in a one-score game, we keep on saying it. You can't turn the ball over. The Texans, they need to address this offensive line because C.J. Stroud, it feels like he's trying to play hero ball.
Right.
It's just, if you watch him, it feels like he's trying to play hero ball. He's trying to get the ball out, and because he knows he doesn't have a whole lot of time to work with. So they need to address that offensive line. I don't know why you would trade away your best player. Apparently, Laramie Tunsil was a locker room cancer. So we'll see if things develop in Washington. But still, man, you can't trade away your best player on the offensive line and just not address the offensive line. Right. That's absurd. That is not how you win football games.
If you're going to create a hole on your team, you need to, put someone in that position that was vacated.
Yeah. All right. We're going to run through these kind of quickly. So we've got the Chargers and the Broncos. The Chargers are 3-0, man. And they shut down Bo Nix. I was never really a fan of Bo Nix to begin with. I thought he was very much a system quarterback at Oregon. If you watched him at Auburn, there's no way in hell you thought that kid was a first-round draft pick. And I watched him when all 4 years he was at Auburn. That kid was a disaster in the SEC. And the NFL is a lot more similar to SEC defenses than it is to Pac-12 defenses when he was at Oregon. So I'm not really surprised that he's kind of been struggling a little bit this year.
Yeah.
I thought last year was kind of a fluke. But I mean,
great game from Cortland Sutton, though.
Yeah. I mean, Cortland Sutton, quietly one of the more underrated receivers in the league. Amarion Hampton, this was kind of his coming out party. 19 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 6 catches for 59 yards.
Yeah, he's a great player.
This Chargers offense, man, they look good. They look really good. They turned the ball over twice, and yet they still won the ball. Or they still won the game, They had it. They lost the fumble. Justin Herbert threw a pick. They threw the ball 47 times with Justin Herbert. I don't love that. Jim Harbaugh, he's going to run the ball. That's what they do. But yeah, man, the Broncos, they're now 1-2. I don't think they're making the playoffs. The Chargers, Riley picked them to win the AFC West. That's looking better and better and better. So, you got anything to say on this game?
Nope.
He's like, nope, fuck it. All right. Let's go ahead and go down here a little bit. Ooh. The Seahawks are now 2-1. Sam Darnold played really well. Only had 4 incompletions, 2 touchdowns, no picks. My guy, Spencer Rattler, he's in a bad situation, man. The Saints, they don't have a lot of talent. And Spencer Rattler, he's playing well for what he's being dealt with. I still am a Spencer Rattler believer. It's just, the Saints, they're not a good football team. They played some really close games to start the year, but the Seahawks going up to Seattle, that's really, really tough.
Yeah.
Like that's a tough place to play. It might be the toughest place to play in
And
all of the
again,
NFL. And
again,
that's
it's
that.
the NFC South. You know,
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
Saints, at least, they're not.
yeah.
It's not a good division. So
This is an unpopular opinion. I don't. I said all year I didn't think the Saints were going to get the number one overall pick. Now it looks like they might. They might get the number one overall pick. It's certainly more likely than I initially thought. But this year's quarterback draft class is not what a lot of quote unquote experts thought it would be. Arch Manning's not coming out this year. He's just not. And Cade Klubnik, he's playing himself right out of being a first round draft pick. Garrett Nussmeier showing flashes. Lenore Sellers is hurt, but he hasn't played well this year either. So all of a sudden, this quarterback draft class that everyone's raving about in the offseason for this coming up draft doesn't look so great.
no.
Keep Spencer Rattler. If you do get the number one overall pick, trade the pick. I think you've got your potential franchise quarterback in Spencer Rattler. Trade the pick and try to build up the team around him. Because guess what? I guarantee you, none of those other quarterbacks I just mentioned would be playing as well as Spencer Rattler is right now in the situation he's being dealt with.
Arch Manning is not playing well at Texas.
No, he's not.
You know,
He
and
is not playing well in Texas.
obviously there is some Manning blood with the Saints. You know, Archie played for them for quite a while.
Yep.
But you know, he's got a great team. You know, and he's playing under Coach Sarkisian, who's great.
Yep.
And you know, Arch Manning is just not wowing anyone.
Yeah.
Also, you skipped the Cowboys game.
I did skip the Cowboys game. You are correct. All right.
I have strong opinions on this one.
Okay, Buck, tell me your opinions on this game.
So, here's what I think.
Okay.
I think the Cowboys totally bungled it by trading Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark.
Yes.
You know, absolutely, Kenny Clark is a great run stopper, and in previous years, the Cowboys have absolutely struggled in stopping the run. You know, but last year I remember watching, and Osa Odigizua, Mozzie Smith, and DeMarvion Overshone made more plays at the line of scrimmage than they got credit for. They absolutely could stop the run when they had to. It's just they could not stop a guy like Saquon or Brian Robinson. You know, that was a definite weakness. But one of the strengths of that defense was knowing the secondary was weak. You had a guy like, you know, Micah Parsons who could get there and sack the quarterback. You know, Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland, they didn't need to be perfect. They just needed to hold off until Micah could get there. And I think that was an absolute failure on the part of the Cowboys trading him away. Also, Trayvon Diggs, really love him as a player. I love what he did in 2021. That season that he had was great, but he's definitely lost a step. He's gotten injured a couple times, and it shows. He looks lost out on that field. It's also a secondary that, you know, when it's missing Deron Bland, looks lethargic. Dak Prescott looks good. He looks confident. He looks like he's making good throws, but at the end of the day, he threw 2 interceptions. Yeah. And then you had Javonte Williams, who fumbled, you know, trying to stretch that ball out and get additional yardage, and that really set the tone for that game. And the defense just looked sloppy. I mean, allowing Luther Burden, who I think the world of, I think he's a great wide receiver, but allowing him to get a 70-yard touchdown for his first touchdown on a fucking flea flicker. Come on. I mean, come on. Right? And, you know, I'm a big fan of Brian Schottenheimer. I think he's a great coach. But I don't agree with the decision to use CeeDee Lamb at the gadget position. You know, CeeDee Lamb's strong. He's fast. He runs a 4.3. He's an incredible player, right? He's a lot bigger than people think. But at the end of the day, he's running against defensive linemen and edge rushers who outweigh him by 60 to 70 pounds. And, you know, having him try and make that cut in the backfield and seeing his ankle go the wrong way, now your best wide receiver is out for a minimum of 2 weeks, maybe 6.
Yeah.
It could be longer, you know. That has the
Yeah.
potential to be a season-ending injury. And I think what you see with the Cowboys is they try and make moves, and maybe the moves that they make are smart on paper, but the execution is just lacking.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. It's just they turned the ball over 4 times, and you
losing to
made
Caleb Williams.
What?
You lose to Caleb Williams.
You did lose to Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, actually, to his credit, he looked really good today. He looked like the number 1 overall pick. Finally, we saw what the Bears saw in Caleb Williams, or what Ryan Poles saw in Caleb Williams, actually. If you haven't read that article by Tyler Dunn, you need to go read that article by Tyler Dunn on the just complete Bears dysfunction. It's very eye-opening. But, I mean, look, man, this was a Bears, I feel like, revenge game because Matt Eberflus is now the Cowboys defensive coordinator. He was the fired head coach for the Bears last year. He got the first coach ever in Bears history to be fired mid-season after losing to the Lions on that Thanksgiving Day debacle where he didn't call timeouts. It's just, look, man, you can't turn the ball over 4 times,
No.
You can't. I think this is a really good win for the Bears. It's definitely something to build off of. But like you said, the Cowboys defense is terrible. And the fact that the Bears, their 2 best defenders, cornerback Jalen Johnson and cornerback Kyler Gordon, they were both out for this game. Their secondary was very weak, and you couldn't take advantage of that. That's concerning if I'm a Cowboys fan.
Yep.
But you have to give credit to the Bears. They look good. Caleb actually looked really good. We will see if they can keep that up. Speaking of devastating season-ending injuries, injuries, Nick Bosa. This game is just, the 49ers, they found a way to win. They're 3-0. But this kind of feels like maybe you won the battle but lost the war because their stud pass rusher, Nick Bosa, is now out for the year with a torn Achilles.
Yep.
And that is devastating for them, because he makes their entire defense go. We talked about him when he came out of college this year. I'm a huge fan of Mykel Williams, and he was a stud at Georgia. It's just now you have to wonder, how will Mykel Williams play without Nick Bosa on the other side of that D-line drawing attention? Because he's been playing really well up to this point for a rookie. But now he's going to have to shoulder a lot more of that load. And, I think he'll become a better player for it. But it's just, look, man, this is tough. I mean, it's a devastating injury. The 49ers, they didn't look great. Obviously, you're still out. Brock Purdy's still out. Mac Jones, played good, not great. Had a touchdown, had a pick, threw for almost 300 yards. Christian McCaffrey, they weren't really able to run the ball. But they find a way to win, but they lose this game, and that's devastating. They lose Nick Bosa, and that is devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah. You there?
Yep, I'm here. We're good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That is tough. All right.
So we have 2 more games to cover?
Yeah, we have 2 more games, and we're going to do the fantasy football update real quick.
All right.
So then,
the Chiefs.
Longer than I thought it would be. The Giants' offense is awful. Russell Wilson had one great game against a horrible Cowboys defense, and then he immediately turned back into a pumpkin. He had 2 picks, 18 of 32, 160 yards. The Chiefs didn't look great. I mean, it was 9-6 at halftime. But this is a win. They found a way to win. And it just the Giants offense is fucking terrible. They are so bad. And that's the story of the game for me. The Chiefs found a way to win, but they still don't look great. Travis Kelce's out here fighting with Andy Reid on the sideline.
I'm not a big fan of Travis Kelce in the first place. I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
But I don't like the idea of fighting with your coach on the sidelines. I think that's something you handle behind closed doors. I think Travis Kelce has started to drink his own Kool-Aid. He's Travis Kelce. He's, Super Bowl winning tight end. He's got this podcast. He's engaged to Taylor Swift. I think he's a little big for his britches right now.
It's hard not to be.
It's hard not to be, and I don't blame the guy. But at the end of the day, you can't be fighting your coach on the sidelines, man.
Yeah, no, it's not the first time he's done it either. He and Andy Reid have gotten into it before. We saw Jackson Dart come in for I think a play or two. Russ isn't the answer. Like you lit it up against a horrible Cowboys defense, and the Giants. They are proving that if you replace having one offensive weapon with zero offensive line is not a recipe for success. They haven't had an offensive line since Eli Manning was still the quarterback. It's part of the reason he had to retire early. Like they could not protect him. And you get Saquon Barkley, he's your only offensive weapon for his entire tenure there. You let Saquon go, you draft Malik Neighbors, you do nothing else. You just replace one guy for another, and you're back in the same fucking situation.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense to me. Brian Daboll needs to be fired. Joe Shane absolutely needs to be fired. I was saying that last year after Hard Knocks. But the Chiefs, give them credit, man. They found a way to win. They finally found a way to win, and they got this monkey off their back. The blowout in the Super Bowl, losing their first two games this year, like this. They needed to get this one, and they did get this one. So that's huge for them.
But it's gotta be alarming if you're a Chiefs fan. I mean, scraping by against the Giants.
It's yes and no. It's understandable because their two best receivers are out. Xavier Worthy is injured, and Rashee Rice is suspended. Travis Kelce is obviously not what he used to be, and Patrick Mahomes is having to do a lot on his own because they can't run the ball with Pacheco. They can't run the ball. So that's it. The story of this game was an absolute banger. The Lions were able to run the ball. The Ravens looked like they were on ice skates all night long on that D-line. David Montgomery, 12 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Jahmyr Gibbs had 22 for 67 and also 2 touchdowns. They had a beautiful one where they handed the ball off to Amon-Ra. Then they ran a fucking speed option to Jahmyr Gibbs off the handoff. Like, that shit was beautiful. And Jahmyr scores a touchdown on that play.
That's great football.
And then, it's just the Lions are proving that it wasn't all Ben Johnson. It wasn't all Aaron Glenn. Dan Campbell has this team rolling. He has the culture in place. They all believe, and they should have went a lot farther in the playoffs than they did last year. They just got crushed and devastated by all those injuries on defense. And then, the balls of Dan Campbell. You're just the balls of Dan Campbell to go for it on 4th and 2 with less than 2 minutes left in the Ravens' own territory to throw a play-action pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown that's complete. Like, that shit was huge. And, it's just that's who Dan Campbell is. Obviously, Derrick Henry's going to get crushed for the fumble, but I don't think you can crush him for that fumble. That was just a great play by Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson is a stud. And that punch-out was one of the cleanest punch-outs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You have to give him credit for that. Like, Derrick Henry, he's fumbled now three times in his 3 games this year. But the one against the Bills I thought was more egregious because he was trying to stiff arm Ed Oliver, and Ed Oliver made him pay for it. This one was a blindside punch out by the backside defensive end on a fucking read option. Like, that's just a great play by a great player in Aiden Hutchinson. Like, we need to stop giving Derrick Henry so much shit. And we need to start talking about just how bad the Ravens offense was down the stretch. You know, they weren't good. Like, they get too conservative. They're not. And that seems to be a kind of a John Harbaugh thing at this point. You know, and the Lions, the one thing about Dan Campbell, he's going to go for the fucking kill shot every single time. They do that. And that's why I love Dan Campbell. That's why I love this Lions offense. I love this Lions team. And the Ravens, they fall to 1-2. They go to Kansas City now.
Oh, boy.
That's a huge game. Like that might make or break their season, to be honest. If you go 1-3, like that's a tough hole to climb out of.
It is.
But yeah, Buck.
Shall we do the
real
fantasy
quick
football update?
Yeah, real quick. Hang on. Let's go ahead and share the screen. So, if you've stayed with us, we very much appreciate it. But now it is time for the TTT Fantasy League update. The best real fantasy football to ever exist. So to start off the week, we have yet another heartbreaker to the now 0-3 Fuzzy Navel. The hashtag Copious Mind got a lot of help from Kyron Williams this week with 18 points to lead his team to a 97-93 victory. The Eagles actually did do something this week. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. But it wasn't enough to withstand getting crushed under the weight of the Copious Mind, who is now the current favorite to win the league, many people are saying. In shitty team news, Bungles for Hire and the big OLD caught their first dubs of the season. Captain Andrew Luck suffered an embarrassing loss to the Burrowless Bungles. Jahmyr Gibbs scoring 26 points for me. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. Thank you for that. To seal the win over the now 2-1 Captain Andrew Luck, 109-80-295. And now for the 0-3 Run the Ball, who just barely lost a heartbreaker to Jasper and the big old OLD, 115-109. The big OLD also had the benched player of the week with a 36-point scoring Trey Tucker. A sad state of affairs for Run the Ball. You know it's bad when your defense is your leading scorer with 16 points. Shamar, I just hope your flag football team is doing better this year. Oh, man. A perfect storm washed away the bubbles in this week's big booty blowout. 60 points, 137-77. The leading scorer for the Storm was his kicker, Chase McLaughlin. Shout out Tampa Bay. Kicking the bubble straight down to a 60-point loss. But honestly, Adrian, that's what you get for trusting the Jaguars offense and starting Trevor Lawrence and Diami Brown. That's what you get. Buck, you got this one.
All right. The Green Bay Chinooks fall to the Buccaneers in truly heartbreaking fashion, losing by 0.16 points, 104.26 to 104.8. We seem to be channeling the actual Buccaneers, playing poorly mostly for part of the game, just to light it up in the last few minutes to squeak out a victory and rip out our opponents' hearts. The good news for the Chinooks is they get their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, back from injury.
And
mind if I
also,
do the next one?
Yeah, hang on. Just one more thing about the Chinooks. They had the Minnesota Vikings defense on their bench who scored 40 points. So, Buck, you lucked out in that one. And
I did luck out in that one.
You absolutely lucked out on that one. All right, you want to read the Hitachi plug-in hybrids?
I sure do.
Okay.
The Hitachi plug-in hybrids and Jack Lee continue to use their bullshit Josh Allen voodoo magic on unsuspecting TTT hosts, defeating Riley and his fantasy football team 101-87. Josh Allen was once again the hybrids' leading scorer with 24 points, and they moved to 3-0. The good news for Riley and Preston is Josh Allen will not help Jack Lee become a better Madden player in franchise mode. Not even voodoo magic can save Jack Lee there.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That was funny.
Yeah, dude. So now, last but not least, we have the Super Bears falling to 1-2 with a 97-76 loss to Show Me Your TDs, which is still the best fantasy name in the league. I'm sorry. Amarian Hampton had a huge game, scoring 21 points, but it simply wasn't enough. The TDs improved to 2-1 after constantly bitching about how trash his team is. Maybe if he watched more of the TTT, he'd learn his team is actually really fucking solid. Fuck you, Jared. Watch the TTT. Oh, man. That is funny. Yep.
That is funny.
No. Buck, I really appreciate you being on here today.
Yeah, man. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Man. No, absolutely. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe to the TTT. You know, it is the place to get all your fantasy football needs, fantasy football needs, college, NFL, all of that. You know, it's really, really awesome. We appreciate everyone. Buck, thank you so much, man.
Absolutely.
Hope to have you on again soon. We will have Riley back on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. But for now,
can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
If you're an NFL front office, hire Preston. He's smart. He knows what he's talking about.
Thank you, Buck. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yep. But for now, it's going to be it for us, y'all.
See ya.